Welcome to Primary Election Special 2014, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch. I'm your host, Avi Myers, and it is our purpose to introduce you to as many different candidates running as possible. We particularly are concentrating on the judiciary. Pick up your copy of Jewish Chicago, in which there is the most complete judicial evaluation in town, featuring every single countywide race, as well as all the sub-circuit races that are in Jewish neighborhoods. It is a pleasure to introduce you to a sitting circuit court judge, a former Chicago alderman, and a fellow South Shorean, which does get extra points in my book, being from South Shore. And that is, now she's running for the Appellate Court of Cook County, Judge Freddrenna Lyle. How you doing?
I'm fine, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to talk to you.
First of all, thank you for coming, and I'm very glad to have you on the show. And what I said a little bit about your background, but why don't you fill us in?
Well, I've practiced law for the past 30-something years. The numbers begin to seem very, very frightening. So I say 30-something. I started in small law firms and worked in a series of small law firms for 18 years, primarily as an attorney with a very serious, heavy litigation practice. I tried cases in state, county, federal courts, all over the county, all over the state, and Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana. And then as my practice evolved, I began moving into transactional work, and we began doing municipal finance work. In fact, I was the first black woman in the bond buyers directory when I did the bond deal, the financing for the Harold Washington Library. So then we were doing small businesses and representing a lot of the governmental agencies. And then in 1998, I began to represent 60,000 people on the south side of Chicago in the 6th Ward as a result of receiving an appointment when my predecessor, John Steele, went to the bench. So for 13 years, I was full-time public servant, alderman, part-time lawyer, part-time founder of a not-for-profit, Lyle for Kids, that actually serviced 9,000 young people over 12 years. Then in 2011, I was appointed to the Circuit Court of Cook County, and so I've been sitting on the bench since then.
Cool. That's a very nice. It's a very nice career progression. No question about it.
Well, it's not exactly. It wasn't thought out. You can tell that.
I don't think you could have thought that out if you wanted to.
No. Life has a way of taking you places that you hadn't planned on going.
That makes life more interesting. That's for sure. So, how have you found being on the bench?
It is rewarding in a totally different sense than, of course, being the alderman. The evenings are mine, the weekends are mine. Wow. I don't have people asking me for garbage cans and the snow. When it snowed, I didn't have to wake up and start wondering about how soon they were going to get out there with a truck. But I am able to help a lot of people, and that remains to be very, very rewarding, helping young people and seniors navigate the system, making sure that in my courtroom every day everyone is treated fairly and given an opportunity to be heard. So it's been a wonderful job.
Cool. What kind of cases do you hear?
I'm jointly assigned to the Elder Law Division and Traffic. So while Elder Law is opening, for instance, we have an Elder Justice Center that's open in the basement, but the cases have not been identified that would come to us yet, and they're still being sent to probate, so we're not actually hearing cases. So while those things are getting worked out, I'm hearing traffic cases. I do the misdemeanor calls, primarily DUIs, and the misdemeanor traffic offenses, which the state legislature is making more and more of every time they have another session.
Yeah.
So,
stop.
Yes, that's where you can find me.
So, how many calls a day? I mean, how many cases a day do you get in traffic court?
One of the anomalies of the traffic court division right now is that we're short on judges. There are 9 judges and 14 calls. So wow. On any given day, I'm doing 2 calls. This morning, I was doing 2 different courtrooms, and in a misdemeanor DUI room, you may hear 2 different two different rooms. And the last one that I did where I had, for instance, 406 and 408 who hear DUIs and the major traffic cases, 75 defendants in the morning, 67 in the afternoon. Needless to say, many people don't get to trial as quickly as they would need to or want to because we're so shorthanded.
Is there any particular reason why you decided to go for appellate court?
I have, I've always liked the scholarship involved in the appellate court. I practiced law during litigation, but many of those cases were tried as a result of that. In '83, I made new law in Illinois. Several other times I was able to get reversals. I successfully did an expedited appeal on an election law matter that actually got John Still to run off and enabled him to win the election that he actually did to become alderman. And so maybe that was what really caused all of the changes in my career. We won that case for John and he became alderman, and then after about 11 years he decided to go to the bench. So I've liked the fact and I know I date myself by saying this, of going into the law library and going through books, and now you sit at home or in the chambers and go through a computer screen. But I like the scholarship, I like the writing, I have the intellectual curiosity, and I like being able to help a larger group of people. As a lawyer, you can help 5. As a judge, you might be able to help 50. But in the appellate court, you can impact the quality of justice in terms of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people.
Now, is that because, it affects, the decisions will affect, a generally large base?
Yes.
So that's interesting because, primarily, well, I know like the appellate court basically tries to, I don't want to talk too much about this because I don't want to run you out of time. But let's talk about rules of law. Let's just take it you like the scholarship.
Yes.
Okay, but let's talk about you now. You're running a campaign. Now, you didn't have to campaign to become a judge in the first place. I mean, you were appointed on merit. So how is the campaign going?
I never knew how large Cook County was until I became a candidate. And there are days when we would begin in New Trier and end in Glenwood. And so I've just run all over the county trying to meet voters and go to events so that people could put names with faces. So it's been very exciting, it's been very challenging, and no, I didn't have to do all of that to get to be a judge, but certainly I have a greater appreciation for everyone who's done it multiple times. But it's coming good. I have a group of people that have worked with me before, and they're helping in limited ways now. We don't have an office like we did when I was the alderman that you ran politics out of, so people are working out of their basements and out of rooms at other law offices that people are letting us use. So it's going well.
No, it sounds cool. And you definitely got people skills. I mean, you had to be 13 years as an alderman. I mean, that's, I've covered my share of politics, and that's one of the roughest.
Yeah, it's no holds barred, and that's because you're the closest elected official to people, and you're the ones they see. They don't run into the president. Very rarely do they run into their congressmen, and even rarer do they run into their senators. They see their aldermen in the gas station and at the grocery store.
Yeah, somebody once told me, it's like, I don't care who my senator is, he has no effect on my life. I don't care who my congressman is down the line, but my alderman, that's my garbage, that's my sanitation, that's my streets, the whole shot. Mm-hmm. So anyway, no, that's definitely true. But now, okay, I want to, first of all, I'm sure you have a campaign website.
Yes, I do. Lyle for Justice, www.Lyle for Justice, and they can look for Lyle for Justice on Facebook. I also Twitter, but I don't know the name of what that is. I guess you just have to find Freddrenna Lyle, and I'm on the Twitter, and I have a campaign number.
Oh, please.
Punch 133 and vote for me.
Punch 133, it rhymes.
Yes.
Punch 133 and vote for me.
Yes.
Judge Freddrenna Lyle, we want to wish you all the luck in the world in the election. She has good bar ratings too, she didn't even say that. Yeah. So I'll say it for her. Listen, thank you for joining us this election season. We appreciate your being here, and keep watching. We've got over 60 judicial interviews on the web. Go to our YouTube. Bye-bye, everybody.